So do you want me to start, or do you want to introduce or ask questions, or what?
You can start with introducing yourself because I gave them a little bit info about you, so you can go.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, guys, welcome. Or welcome to me, I guess. But yep, my name's Tony White, as you probably know. I'm a veteran animator. I've been doing it over 50 years. And hand-drawn animation, not computer. Well, I use computers now, but I don't do computer animation. Even though I use computers, I actually start my work on pencil and paper. And that's a really important message that I try to get across to young animators today. You guys are living in a world of technology, but really, the best ones of you are going to be the ones who have also done traditional drawing, kept sketchbooks, observational drawing, not just imagination, not just anime, not just superheroes, but actually looking at things and drawing them and putting them into the sketchbook. And I'm going to talk about that more in a minute because it's really important. But yes, yeah, 50 years in the industry and I'm still going strong. Most people have retired and given up by now. Some of them aren't even living anymore, but I'm just obsessive. I work 7 days a week. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, working, drawing, I'm writing a new book at the moment, and I run my own animation school online. So yeah, I never stop. So the beauty is, though, that I love what I'm doing. It's not like I have to work, it's because I want to work. And my whole career has been that. If you can find what it is that you want to do in your career and just throw yourself into it, then you'll never work in your life because you get paid for doing what you love doing. And that's what I've always done. So, you know, it's not to say you don't have problems in life. We all have problems in life. But if you have that one thing which represents you, where you can express yourself through something you love, then that's your lifeboat. That's the thing that will always keep you going. It will always keep you moving on. And as I say, I've been through ups and downs in my career, in my life, but the one thing that's always kept me going and made me feel positive and really creative is to draw, essentially draw. I draw animation, whether I'm doing moving drawings or I'm just drawing. That's my therapy, and it's wonderful therapy. But the good thing about it as therapy is that whatever emotions you've got, whatever worries, whatever concerns, whatever lack of self-identity even you've got, get it out with drawings, get it out with art, bring it through in some creative form. Even if you express all your anger through that way, it's a wonderful way of coping with life and learning more about yourself and developing your own skills as an artist or a creator. Anyway, so I don't want to talk all the time. I want to show you stuff. So this is my page. There's a website called ArtStation, which you're looking at right now, and I have my own account. And most artists, animators, whatever, have sites on here. Not everyone, but it's a very popular site. And it's a great place to show what you do. And so I thought I'll just log into here and show you what I've done. So the first thing I want to show you is animation. So I think the best way of me introducing myself is to show you the work I've done. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you, it runs about 5 minutes. It's what we call an archive showreel. Now, a showreel, if you don't know already, a showreel is where if you're trying to, well, several things, trying to get into college, you need a showreel or a portfolio to show that college what you've done, and hopefully you'll get accepted. If you want a job, you need a showreel. In the professional world, you need a showreel to show the animation you've done before and what levels you're capable of doing and what skills you have, in my case, in terms of animation. But also, if you're even more ambitious than that, and you want to make movies or TV shows or video games or whatever it is, you need a showreel to show investors and distributors what you can do and what you're planning to do. So a showreel basically is a quick compilation. It can be lots of different things, but really it's a compilation of work you've done in the past, things you're proud of. Never put bad work on your showreel, never put bad work in your portfolio, but put the things you're proud of, the things that you love doing and what you want to be represented by, put them in your showreel. And if you're going for a career position or something like that, my advice is don't have a showreel longer than 3 minutes long, and put all your best stuff way up front. Because I'll tell you a little secret in terms of getting a job in animation. If you're trying to get into a company like Pixar or DreamWorks or Disney or any of that, they get thousands and thousands of people sending graduates, sending them showreels. And I've spoken to them quite a lot about this. And they say to me, the one thing with most college showreels, graduates, degree courses, whatever, the problem with their showreel is they all learn the same thing. And once we've seen one, we've seen them all. And what we're looking for, most colleges teach the software. Most colleges teach you a little bit about how to make things move. Usually a lot of colleges don't teach it very well, but they teach it. And so when you're Pixar and you're hiring people and you're looking at 1,000 showreels landing on your desk or on your computer screen, you're going to make a snap decision on every one you look in the first 10 seconds. If you don't grab them in the first 10 seconds of your showreel, then you've lost them. All right. So if you ever do showreels, I'm telling you, put your best work up front. Don't put fancy titles or anything. Just hit them hard with your best work straight away. And then let the rest of it, don't put any bad work in it at all, but let the rest of it flow through with the things you're proud of, but put the best ones up front. You can, if you want to put titles and credits, put them at the end, but don't worry, because it's that critical first 10 seconds when they're either going to reject you or sit there and watch a bit more. And as I say, if it goes on and on, they're not going to watch it all anyway. Anyway, so what I'm going to show you, however, is a thing called an archive showreel. So I'm not trying to get jobs. I'm not trying to build a career anymore. I want people to see what I've done, but I want to see, I want to show them everything I've done. And I had a studio for 20 years in London, and we won all kinds of awards, did all kinds. I've done over 200 TV commercials, a couple of TV specials and things. So what I did is I cut my showreel, my archive showreel, not like the showreel, a selling showreel that I've been telling you about, but this is just to show you some of the things I've done. Now, the quality is bad, unfortunately, because it's an archive showreel. I'm really showing you things that I did some time ago mainly. There's some more recent things in there, but it's really old stuff, so it's fuzzy, because the problem is with the changing technology of today, if you don't update your old work into new technology, which, trust me, is really impossible. When in the days I was working, we worked on 35mm film. We didn't have technology. We didn't have digital. We didn't have videos. Well, we did have videos part of my career, but at the beginning, nothing. It was all done on film, all photographed on film and everything. If you don't transfer that film into a digital medium at any point, the technology changes so fast that you can't do it anymore. So all I have is this old fuzzy copy of my showreel. But nevertheless, although it's slightly blurred, it will give you an impression of the kind of things I've done. And I would say 99% of what you're going to see now was all done hand-drawn. No computers, no technology, no Photoshop, nothing. It was all hand-drawn. So let me click on it and play it for you. Hopefully you can hear it. Let me maybe crank my sound up a little bit just to make sure. And these are just very small clips of things that were like part of those 200 commercials, television specials, things like that. Just little glimpses of the versatility that when you can draw well, you can draw anything. Okay, I'm going to stop it there because it goes on for another 2 minutes, and I think you get the picture that I've been pretty versatile in everything I did. What my studio was famous for was that we never really did the same thing twice. We never did. We always moved on. I was obsessive about that, but I never wanted to reproduce and do the same old, same old. I always wanted to move on and do different styles. So we welcomed and embraced all kinds of different styles. And I think that show reel, that archive reel, gives you a kind of feeling for that. That was just the tip of an iceberg of what we did, but it's a pretty representative one. Now, what I will say, while I change to the original screen again, what I will say is that world that I came from there doesn't really exist anymore. Okay, in Europe, there is a career path for traditional hand-drawn animation, for sure. In Europe, India, China, Japan, everywhere except the USA. And it's a shame. It's disgusting, really, because this country, in the days way back of Warner Brothers and Disney and all the other big studios at the time, this country led the world in traditional hand-drawn animation. But now it's not even in the game anymore. There is no way, unless you make your personal films, and maybe you're lucky enough to get on something like The Simpsons. And there's a handful of people in the USA work on The Simpsons. It's all done in Burbank, but they're the supervising people, and then they ship it out abroad. All the work's done abroad. And it's the same with all the TV series on that you'll see on the networks. It's also pretty unlikely in the video game industry for you to do drawn animation anymore. So what I'm really saying is that in this country, there isn't a career path if you want to be a hand-drawn animator like me. It doesn't exist anymore. Europe, it does, and other places, as I say, they're doing amazing work elsewhere. Trust me, there's a business going. It's beautiful work around the world except this country. So unfortunately, you're in this country, so you've got to be realistic. So the realism is that you are going to go into an industry which is either computer animation only, 3D animation, CG animation, either for film or for television or for the video game industry. And that sounds appealing, and it actually is for a few people, because it's fantastic work if you can get the best work. But if you're like a slave on the production line, not so much fun. And if you're a creative person who loves to draw, then your reality is, if you want to do drawn animation, your reality is you're going to have to do the day job and then go home in the evening and do your hand-drawn animation then. Now, having said that, I want to add that if you want to be an animator, if that's the career that you really feel drawn to, and you are inevitably going to be one of that 99.9% of people that do computer CG animation for video games, for movies or television, you will get ahead of the rest of your competitors. And remember, there are thousands of schools or colleges producing people. You know, I said the Pixar get 1,000 show reels at the busy time a month. They all come from different colleges in this country and some abroad, but they all look the same. So if you want to be ahead of the competition, you got to add something more than the college will give you. All right. Now, when I spoke to Pixar, one time I was a dean of a very big college, and I went to Pixar and said, look, what is it that you miss when you see these thousands of showreels? What is it that's missing that the colleges aren't doing? And he said, traditional art skills. He said, nobody's drawing anymore. Nobody's doing drawn animation anymore. Nobody's doing observational drawing anymore. Nobody keeps a sketchbook anymore. But if a kid comes in with a showreel and a sketchbook and it's good, we'll hire him like that. We'll take him on immediately. And they said, indeed, if a kid comes into this, comes in and interviews with us, and they show us animation of a stick figure, they don't even need to draw very well. But if they do a little stick figure and it moves beautifully, we'll hire him too. Because we don't care about all those kids that learn software only. We don't care about those. We can just pick any of them and they're all pretty much the same. But what we do care about is the kid that comes in who has one thing that's different to everyone else. They may have the showreel, but they'll have something different. They'll have a fantastic sketchbook, or they do illustrations, or they do hand-drawn 2D animation. And that's usually rated pretty highly if you do it well with employers, big scale employers anyway. Smaller studios want versatility. They want you to be able to do everything. But the big ones, they want you to be able to prove to them that you're an artist first and a technology software person second, because the colleges teach the software first. They don't teach the artistry. And computers are great, and I use them all the time. We're using them right now, but I use them all the time in my work. But they're only as good as you are, the person putting the material into the computer. The computer doesn't do it for you. Whatever you think with all the software that's out there, and I use all that software, at least the 2D software, hand-drawn based software, it doesn't do the animation for you. You can set positions, keyframes, and it'll in between them for you, but that isn't real animation. That isn't what the good employers are looking for. They're looking for personality and performance and character animation. And that only comes if you're trained that way and you have art skills to back that up. In fact, you need the art skills to get to that level, because it's all about observational drawing. Even if you're working in 3D animation, you've got to know how to pose a character properly. And the only way you know how to pose a character is by doing hours of sketching people in positions, in poses. In fact, I run courses online. I do a live Tuesday night class. Actually, most of my students are your age. And I do a live 48 weeks of a live class every Tuesday night. And we start every session with about 10 to 15 minutes of observational drawing. I set up a subject and everyone has to draw that. Then we get on with what we do in the class. And most of it's broken into 4 modules. The first 12-week module is hand-drawn animation. I teach students how to make things move really well using hand-drawn techniques. The second 12 weeks is using digital techniques based on drawings. And we're using a software program called Moho, which to me it's not the biggest one out there, but it's the fastest up and coming one. It's the most creative one that I've found. So I teach that for 12 weeks. I don't teach the software. I just teach enough for students to use that software to do the creative artistic stuff and make things move really well. And then modules 3 and 4, 3 is a pre-production module where students come up with their own project, their own film, short film, maybe just 30 seconds because there's no time to do more. And we'll spend 12 weeks doing the pre-production for that film. And then the last 12 weeks module is actually making that film. And they come out, they go in knowing nothing about animation, drawing, art, or anything. And they come out having made their own personal 30-minute film. And that's the way that colleges should be teaching students. And you're most likely not going to encounter that except for a handful of colleges who do include art, drawing, and more essential things in their program. The vast majority, 95% of colleges in this country just teach software. And that's fine because you need to know software, but it shouldn't be the only thing you learn, and most colleges don't teach the rest. Anyway, so I just wanted to show you, what else shall I show you? Some of these things, I've shown you that one. How are we doing on time? That's the next thing, because I know, we're nearly out of time. Okay, so I want to show you other things. So I've written a number of books on animation. I'm writing a new one right now. I've got to deliver it in December. It'll come out next year. But these are my books on animation, and they're used as textbooks in colleges, not only in this country, but around the world. Some of them have been translated into other languages. Every single one of them teaches things colleges don't teach. Some colleges pick them up as textbooks, but they don't teach most of what's in them. But the thing you need to learn, two things you need to do: keep a sketchbook and make that sketchbook full, if not 100%, but certainly 75% of observational drawing figures, drawing objects, drawing scenes, drawing people on buses, in coffee bars, draw everything from observation. Fill your sketchbook with that. Throw in some imaginary drawings, but if you're an imaginary artist, even if you love anime or you love superheroes and things like that, which a lot of employers hate seeing sketchbooks full of those, but put some in if you love doing that. But all the other observational drawing is only going to make your favorite drawing subjects even better. Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki, who is probably the greatest, they call him the anime director. I don't consider, he says he's not anime. He started as anime and he moved on. He developed art skills and other techniques, and he's the best filmmaker out there. And he is the one that insists on drawing and keeping sketchbooks and everything else. So that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted you to know is that if you want a career in animation, there's two things that good employers will look for. Number one is talent. Okay, we've dealt with that. They'll want to see a sketchbook. They'll want to see you doing hand-drawn animation as well as doing the computer-based stuff as well. That's the first part of the puzzle that you have to solve. You have to get good enough to be good enough to get a job in animation. The second part of the puzzle is who you are and how you present yourself. Animation is a team game. It means that a whole bunch of people are all going to work together on one project. Most of the time, they're all so they have to mesh. They have to get on with each other. So you could be the greatest art genius or animation genius in the world, but if you're an obnoxious human being, they're not going to hire you. They're not also going to hire you if you're just complicit and you just say, yes, sir, I'll do whatever you tell me. They're not going to like that either. But in the middle, there's somebody who's going to be creatively competent, creative ability, but they're also going to be a nice person. They're going to be respectful. They're going to be able to communicate with other people. They're not going to sulk. They're going to take criticism. They're going to be positive in what they want to give to the team. And they're certainly not, they're certainly going to be reliable, that they can't let the team down, because like any chain, if there's one weak link, the chain breaks. So studios can't afford that. So they're the two-pronged things you've got to consider if you want to go in for a career in animation. So I hope I haven't, I know we're on 30 minutes, so I've got 1 minute left. So I hope I haven't put you off, scared you away or anything, because this truly is the most fantastic job you could ever have. I've been lucky enough to ride the hand-drawn wave, but if you love animation and you love working with software and computers, then you're going to love it too. Just be aware of that if you want to beat all that competition out there, if you want to get into a college and beat the competition, you've got to develop your art skills, your observational drawing skills and your other art skills, and be versatile on that level as well as learning software. Okay, so I don't know if that is enough. Tammy, I don't know if you want me
Yes,
to
yes,
ask.
that was great, Tony.
Okay.
Thank you so much. If people have any question for Tony.
So about animation, the best thing for reference is the video, right? And should we like break down the video to see how they move and then try to recreate it?
Yes. Funny enough, I was writing that in my book this morning, that this observational drawing. I didn't get all your question, but hopefully this will answer it. Observational drawing is really important because it makes you see how people really are, not how you imagine them to be. The very first, I have a course called Drawing for Animation, which is a whole series of drawing exercises. One of my books is about that as well. But the very first exercise I give on my online course for free is say, okay, if somebody gave you a scene of people drinking coffee and you draw those people drinking coffee, if you do it from your imagination, it will be pretty generic. It will be pretty basic. But if you go and sit in a coffee bar and sketch all these different people, the different ways they hold coffee cups, some are like this, they're laid back, some clutch onto them like this. There are a million different ways people hold and drink coffee. If you go out there and sketch that, that gives you a huge mine of information for when you actually animate it. And that's what you need to do as an animator. You need to observe movement. You need to watch slow motion of athletes, dancers, whatever, moving, and try and analyze them, try to do quick sketches of their main poses, and then apply that to your animation. And then when you do apply it to your animation, don't just copy them exactly as you saw them. When you draw them, do your quick gesture drawings. I recommend 30-second sketches sometimes, 1-minute sketches. I vary with my drawing course, anything from 1 minute to 3 minutes per sketch. But take that sketch as your reference for how you're going to pose your characters in animation, but then exaggerate that pose. Don't make it photographically a copy of that pose. Exaggerate. If somebody's holding their hand like this, you want to do it like this. If somebody's going to point, you don't just do that, you go like that. You extend the pose, because animation, even if you're trying to make it look like real life, animation needs to be exaggerated to make it look like real life. It's very weird. There's a thing called rotoscoping in the old days of drawn animation, where we trace, well, I wouldn't, but you trace live action actors, and some movies were made that way. You trace them frame by frame, and then you color them like their animation. And when you see them moving, they look very stiff and wooden, and they don't look real at all. So a real animator in those days used to exaggerate the drawings and then in between them to make, and then that, even though it was exaggerated in animation, on the screen, it looked real. It's really weird. And today with CG technology, they have a thing called mocap, motion capture, where they put actors in suits. I don't know if you've seen them. They've got these sensitive points on their body, on their outfit. And as they move, it's inputted into a computer and they convert it into a CG model or a CG character that does the same movements. It's the same thing. If you just did that literally, copy the movement of somebody in the real world with a 3D character, when you see it played back, it looks awful because it looks dead and wooden and lifeless. It moves, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't. So what they now do, the better studios, and it's quite often used a lot in video games, they employ really experienced animators to go then and take that data and change the data to make the poses much more expressive, much more exaggerated. And then when it plays back as a CG character, it looks real. It's very weird, but so I don't know if that answers your question. If it doesn't, ask again.
So it does.
Okay. Okay, good. I caught half of it, and I think I caught what you were asking, but yeah. Anyone else?
Hi, I've been struggling between picking illustration and animation for a career choice or maybe even post-secondary. Would you have any advice for me?
Well, my advice would be do both, for the very reasons I said, that if you want to be an animator, keep your drawing and illustration going, because it's only going to plus what you're capable of in animation. And if you're illustrating, keep what I call your animation eye, looking at everything around you to see, even if you're not going to animate, you're going to illustrate characters, people in poses, expressing emotions and everything. Look at the real world and see how they move, because there's a thing called a generic walk. I don't know if you've come across it, but there's a thing called a generic walk. And the first thing any student should learn, more or less, depends time and opportunity, but a degree student, the first thing you need to know is how to make a character walk generically. In other words, mechanically. It's got no personality. It's got nothing weird, special happening to it, no emotion. It's just mechanically working sound. It's called a generic walk. If you learn that, then you can spin off and do lots of different things. And then do personality walks and everything. I've forgotten why I was using that as an example, but what I tell students when they're learning a generic walk is go out and look at people walking, look at people in the street walking, and you'll see that everyone, I've remembered what I was going to say, everyone walks the same way, but everyone walks differently because of their mood, their emotion of the moment, their intention, their environment. Are they walking uphill, downhill? Are they walking into a wind or with a wind on their back? Are they going to the dentist and don't want to get there very quickly and they're dragging their feet? Or are they rushing because they're going to see this cool concert that they can't wait to see? Even the same person walks differently depending on the emotion. So if you're an illustrator, training your eye to see those things as an animator would is only going to improve your illustration. So I don't think there's an answer to you other than do both, because and it's very difficult. I'd say this to all of you. When I was your age, I had no idea what I wanted to do as a career. I never thought of animation ever, not for 1 minute. And I thought I wanted to be an illustrator or a graphic designer or something like that. I just loved art. I loved drawing. And I went to college for 4 years. And even then, I still didn't want to do animation and hadn't even thought about it. But circumstances in life move you, and you've got to be ready for that movement. So 2 things on that. With me, number 1 is I ended up very successful as a student. I got my a poster design into a professional annual of graphic design and poster designs and things European wide as a student. And I also became a finalist of our national in the UK student awards. I did very well, and I got high grades and everything. So I assumed at a time when it was easy to get jobs, I assumed that I would walk into a job when I graduated. I thought, well, yeah, I've done okay as a student. Didn't happen at all. In fact, I was several months before I even got a sniff of a job. And in the end, and I was living with my parents back then. I'd moved out, but I had to move back because I couldn't afford to survive once I'd graduated. And they were very poor, and I was feeling really bad not bringing money into the house. So I started looking for any job I could find. And there just happened to be, and I did a lot of illustration when I was at college as well. There just happened to be a job advertising a trade magazine saying junior background artists required in an animation studio must have a good portfolio of animation. And so I applied for that job because I was looking for anything at that point. I was desperate. And out of 30 students, I actually got employed. They loved my work and I got hired as a junior back. I didn't know what it was, but I got hired and I was happy. So what I found was, what I thought was, I was going to go in for, a month or so, make some contacts where I wanted to be, and then try and get a job in those areas, illustration or television advertising or something. Didn't happen. But what I found is after 10 days, I suddenly found I totally loved the animation world. I totally loved it. And I thought, why do I want to move anyway? I want to stay. So I stayed, and, it is what it is. I had this huge award-winning career along the way. So the second thing I wanted to say to you is that I said earlier on, know what your intention is, know what you want. You may not know it. And my circumstances, I didn't know it. And I got nudged into it. And I was suddenly open-minded enough, or was at least open-minded enough to know what I wanted to do when I got there. I didn't know I wanted to do it, but when I got there, I knew this is what I wanted to do. So keep your minds open, because it could be that you may have something in your mind you want to be. You're saying you either an animator or an illustrator. Keep your mind open. Say, okay, I'm not going to choose either of those things, but where's the world going to carry me? Where am I going to end up? Is it the place I want to be, or is it not the place I want to be? If it's not the place you want to be, take it anyway. If you're offered a job in any creative field, take it anyway. Because like me, you can build contacts once you're in the system, once you're in the employment system. And that's the hardest thing to do for a graduate from college. Once you're in that system, you can begin to move around that system, but at the same time, be more open-minded about if something really good happens and you're not where you want to be, and you suddenly think, actually, I'm happy here. Be open-minded enough to go with that track. Just say, okay, that's what the world wants me to do right now. That's what I want to do right now. It feels good, so I'm going to carry on. If you're unhappy, then of course, then you can start working out. And I remember co-teaching a class when I was at this big college, when I was the dean there, and I co-taught a class with another teacher. And he said to the students, beware of what you want, because one day you might get it. And that was another thing, because what he was saying was he'd met students. In fact, he himself had been in this position. He desperately went through college knowing exactly what I want to do. I want to do this. I want to do nothing else. I'm just going to do that. And he said when he got out of college, he actually got the job that he wanted to do and was so excited. And it was a good job. It wasn't a lowly job. It was a pretty good break for him. He said, however, after 2 years, he was bored out of his head. He said, I hated being in that job. And I had to start opening my mind up and saying, well, what else can I do? So sometimes it's beware of what you want, because you might get it. All right. And the secret of all this is keep your mind open. Be aware of where life's carrying you. Don't succumb to it, but just see if opportunities open up that you've never thought of before, and jump for them if they feel appealing. And you'd never, like me, I never thought I was going to be an animator ever. And I realized suddenly for convenience, I got into it. And then I realized I loved it, and I've never left it, and I will love it to my dying day. And I was open and minded enough to see that about myself. So I would say, don't choose, do both. Both are going to help each other, and see what the world takes you to. Or maybe if you go to college or you go somewhere else, a door will open up in a direction that makes sense to you at that time, and go with it, but still don't neglect the other one, because it's going to help you anyway.
Definitely. Any other questions? Yep.
Sorry.
Come over here.
For the observational drawing, do you have any suggestions for like settings to go to do that in like in-person life? Like, for example, you say cafes, like any other specific locations?
Really, the best thing to do is, again, I'm very much a person that says life will show me what I need to see at any moment in time. Whether I like it or not, it's going to do it, right? So what I would say to you is, carry a sketchbook with you always. It can be a little one. It doesn't have to be a big, bulky sketchbook. Carry a little sketchbook with you, and just, if you're on a bus, draw people. If you're in a coffee bar, draw people drinking coffee. If you're at a game, a sports event, or a concert, draw people in the concert. Just draw, draw, draw. Draw things you see, not things you imagine. Your imagination will take over eventually, trust me. Especially if you're a very imaginative person anyway. but your observation drawing will support that and make you better at it. So yes, I don't know. I've got my own courses, you know, and I don't want to be here to sell my own courses at all. But I still believe if you carry a sketchbook, you'll get your subjects coming to you every day and you want to draw them. And even if you don't draw well, I say to my students, some of them don't draw at all well. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you're doing observational drawing, you're not trying to be Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or anything. What you're doing is you're looking at a subject, like you're all sitting in a room right now, but every one of you are sitting in a different pose right now. In 1 minute, you could draw everyone in that room and record the different poses that everyone's sitting. Some are leaning to one side, some are leaning forward, back, slouch, you know, whatever it is, it's real, and just observe it and draw it and just sketch it down really quickly, because observational drawing is not about photographic copying. It's about capturing angles and proportions and poses and everything. And most animators will do that to reference what they're going to animate, and they'll just draw almost stick figures, but in the right pose or the right angle that they want their character to be in. But they'll look, sometimes they'll even act it out. If you're stuck, if you want moving things to observe, use your cell phone, use your iPhone or whatever, and videotape yourself doing it or a colleague doing it, and then play it back afterwards. You can pause it on different poses and draw those as well. You can go onto Google, you can go onto YouTube and find slow motion action of athletes or dancers or rock or musicians or whatever. And there's a million pauses you can make there and do sketches on the screen. So, you know, the best drawing is always from life in the real situation, because when you're looking on a screen like this, it flattens perspective and it doesn't give you an accurate portrayal of what you're looking at. If you're in a room like you guys are and you've got everyone around you, you can just sit drawing each other. If you've got a group of you that wants to do this, set yourself up and sit in a room and draw each other, drawing each other from different angles. I have students do that. I've sat in the middle and rotated myself every minute so that they draw me from every angle in the middle, and that gives you an idea of construction and volume, and it gives you a challenge.
We do the same in our class.
You do? Great.
Yeah.
Okay, then you're there. Good. You don't need my advice on that. But yeah, spontaneous, no judgment about how well or badly you draw, nothing. And I don't know about you, Tammy, but if I'm grading students, I grade them against themselves, not against each other. So there's going to be, yeah. There's going to be natural artists who are born to do it, and some of whom are going to be incredibly lazy and not use that talent. There's going to be people in a classroom who struggle to draw the simplest stick figures, but work their butts off trying to get better. Those ones get the A's from me, and the lazy, talented geniuses, they get a B or a C because they're not trying. But if the lazy ones really make an effort, then yeah, A's, they get A's. And if the other ones get lazy, then, but I just grade everyone against themselves. But the bottom line is you don't need to be conscious or self-conscious about whether you draw well or not. There's no definition of what good drawing is, except in animation terms. Are you seeing the angles? Are you seeing the proportions? Are you looking at the pose, capturing it down, even to a little simple sketch gesture drawings? That's all you need for drawing for animation. That's all you need. You don't need to make it look like a person. You don't even have to draw features on the face. You're looking at body angles and parts of the body. Is the shoulder higher or lower? Is the arm raised or down? And you're trying to capture that in the moment. And so that's the best thing. Just, you know, it's all around you. Just draw it.
Any other questions? Come over here and ask. Be careful.
You can come halfway. I can probably hear you. It's just when you're right over there, it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Uh, is the chair you are using comfy?
Oh my God.
Say that again.
Chair.
Uh, is the chair you are using comfy? I mean, because if I do animation, I will have to sit every day, so I wanna like find very comfortable.
I
And
know. Yeah. Ergonomics is really important. In fact, on one of my books, there's in the old days, they had put CDs in books, and in the back, there's a complete course on RSI, repetitive stress injury. And it's a real issue, guys. You're going to face it. You guys are going to be sitting probably in front of computers for the rest of your life, the way the world is. That means you're going to get eye issues, you're going to get neck issues, you're going to get body issues. You're going to be like me, you'll build a big stomach probably because you're being sedentary all the time. And there are exercises to deal with that. But yes, although it's kind of a funny question, it's a good question because my chair is ergonomically designed. Luckily, I've been able to buy one. I have the seat is padded in a way that it supports me rather than it hurts me, which some hard chairs do after a while. And you're going to be realistically sitting in front of that in that position for a long while. So two things, life experience here, get a good chair, get a good cushion if you need it, get up and move around every so often, 20 minutes or so. In terms of your eyes, you're definitely going to get stress on your eyes because you're staring at a screen all the time. If you're working on computers anyway, and most people will be, you're going to get eye problems. So try to every 20 minutes or so get up and look outside your window. I'm looking that way because my window's that way. Look out your window and you do some distant looking rather than the screen a few feet in front of you, which is flat anyway, so your eyes are not, it's like looking at a blank wall for hours and hours and hours, except you're seeing moving pictures on it. But that's what a screen is. So just look around. If you don't have a window, look along to the far side of the room. I saw a great documentary on NHK, the Japanese program, world program, and it was about ninjas training. And they used to train their eyes. And I thought how great this would be for animators or anyone who's stuck on a computer all day. They would focus, I do it so you can see it. They would focus on their thumb for a minute or so, just stare at it, and then constantly look away to an object that's either far away or in a different position nearer or somewhere in between. And they'd go back to the thumb, focus on it, then they look away, look up, and they'd always be looking at something. They'd find an object and they would train their eyes to deal with this fixed looking issue, which everyone's going to have with computers. Personally, I do a thing at my age. I don't know if it's going to keep me alive longer, but the quality of my life is so much better. I do a thing called Qigong, which is a 30-minute exercise, meditation or breathing session where I do all kinds of visualizations, all kinds of stretching movements tied in with the breath. And the only way I can describe it's fantastic. I do it every day, 30 minutes in the morning. The only way I can explain it, it's like having an old bike that's rusty and the wheels are screeching because they're rusty and everything's creaky, and you put oil on it and it's suddenly all smooth and running. That's what my body feels like. So that I do it every day. And it's a real issue for you guys. So it's a good question because you're going to face that. You're definitely going to face that, and you have to be aware of it. Hope that answers.
Any other question? No.
No, they're exhausted. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to thank you again. Thank you a lot, Tony, for your valuable time that you shared with us.
Okay.
Turn around.
It was a pleasure.
That was so nice. You know,
Okay.
all the advice, and I didn't expect less, you know.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And it's good to see you as well.
Yeah. And by the way,
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Yes, there
Now,
we go.
is
We
that
do
the-
have it.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, that
It's
was
a
my,
pleasure.
yeah. People still ask for that book. It's not available anymore.
Oh, really?
They took it
Okay.
out of print. It was still making money, but it wasn't enough money for the new modern corporate publishers.
I know. I
So they took it
remember
out of
all
print,
the
but it was
issues.
only a few years ago, and it's been going like 30 years.
Mhm.
And I still get people referencing it. You know, I actually have the rights. If I wanted to publish it, I could publish it myself now, but I
That's
don't have the money or the time to do that. But yeah.
Thank you so much
All
again.
right.
Have a
Pleasure.
lovely weekend.